And BearThoughts podcast. All right, it is Wednesday at 5 p.m. Central American Time here at Grippy B Gaming, where we do the podcast every Wednesday. So if you like to catch us live, be sure to hit us up. I hear my voice, so
Yeah, everybody.
okay. Can you hear yourself though? Just making sure, real quick.
I'm waiting to see. Do 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 do
That's
do.
a yes. It's always a weird check to be doing at the very, very beginning stream, but too many times we've done
We're
that.
good.
Too
We
many
are good.
times. All right. So, real quick, no announcements, but I will say thank you for all those supportive lately. Thank you for those who are hitting that like button, leave and all that stuff and sharing around. We had a fair good of views in the last podcast. Though I had to kind of upload it, but don't mind what I had to do to it. So hoping this time nothing like that would happen again. Goodness gracious. So if you are new here, be sure to hit the like button, help support this channel. And if you don't hit the like button, you want us to fail, you want this channel to stay stagnant, you want this channel to end and stop. So that's your fault if you don't hit the like button. So Corva, how you doing today?
I'm doing pretty good today.
You feeling good?
I've had I guess today's been one of those days where I feel like I was actually productive at work, so I feel pretty good today.
Yeah, we as men like to say or get something done. Feels nice when we complete something. Right, you know what I'm saying? Like it's
Yeah, when you feel like you've done something and you actually completed a task without 20 other tasks falling upon you and wrecking it, you feel better about yourself.
Yeah, so you feel like you're doing something in life rather than just aimlessly doing one thing after another. I watch you. I don't watch TikTok, but this other guy had it on Twitter, and he posted up and said, "This is pretty much my life." And there's like one guy's like singing this little weird song about like I'm gonna do a hobby. Let's do this hobby. I know everything about this hobby now. Do the hobby, and he like goes law. Now the hobby's over. Off to the next one, and I'm like, yeah, that's how my life feels too. Like I feel like I'm jumping from thing to thing, but then again, I've been through 3D printing for over 4 years, and streaming on Twitch for over 4 years or more. I wouldn't agree to it as a hobby, but it feels like one. It feels like
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
It's like some people
Yeah,
like they're in and out. I'm not.
they don't. I guess people don't realize when they first get into stuff like that how they're like, oh, this is just something I'm going to do today, and then you get pulled into it, and it's like, but I need to do more. I need to do more now. I need to do. Wait, what's that over there? But I'm doing what? Squirrel.
Yeah, it's we're getting more and more outside of the box of we're short attention. But me, I've been collecting figurines for years. That's a hobby of mine. Been 3D printing for years. That's a hobby of mine. Been watching anime, playing video games. I've been streaming on Twitch and on YouTube here for over years. So I'm definitely not the kind of person that gets into hobby and like that's it, done. On to the next one. And I get why some people like to do that. Like they feel like they put so much time sink and so much work and so much money into a hobby, and when they go off that hobby, they feel like that squirrel just came across the street. It's like, all right, but to me, if I were to stop a hobby, is because either one, like you said earlier, I don't feel like I'm really getting anything done. Like I feel like nothing's been accomplished. Nothing is really coming of it. And realistically, nothing is coming of any of my things. My figurines collecting, my 3D printing, my streaming, nothing came of it. I just find satisfaction out of it. What about you?
Yeah, I'm the same way. I mean, a large part of the time, even when I'm, say, doing my 3D printing, most of the time I'm printing for somebody else. I'm not even printing for myself. It's not so much as that I want to print something for me. It's just I enjoy printing. It's something I enjoy doing. I feel like I'm doing something when I take a piece off and it's done printing. Look, I accomplished this. I printed this, It's a sense of accomplishment.
Okay, can you do me a favor? Can you grab your Power Ranger helmet and show it to the screen, or show it to us?
Just keep in mind, guys, it's still a work in progress. I'm still sanding and stuff like that.
Okay, because I've been eyeballing that thing for a while. And I'm not big into Power Rangers, but like that has to be like, to me, just a full helmet just like screams Oh yeah, like just what other hobby you think you could do that? Like I know you could do that in foam stuff, but it's still so cool. I have no idea how they're gonna put that on their head unless their head's small. Hope
The
they're not.
person that the person I'm working on that for is not planning to wear it.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna put it on a display
Okay,
on a
good.
shelf.
Do they have like a head mannequin? Like they could possibly like.
Yeah. So I mean, either he's gonna get a head mannequin, or I actually looked up. They have a the guy that made the models for the Power Ranger helmets also made a stand
Oh,
that they sit on. So
okay.
I could also do that for him as if he requested.
All right. Well, you also have the other requests. I okay. Be honest with me. If you could get into 3D printing and sell your 3D prints, would you?
Ah, that's a fine line, dude. Here's my problem.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to turn my hobby, which is something I enjoy,
Yeah.
into a job, because sometimes turning something like that into a job makes you not enjoy doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
You're under pressure, you got to get it done, you got to get it out and stuff. That being said, if it was purely not the printing portion of it, but say creating a model and putting a model up and selling it for someone else to pull down and print, I could probably get behind doing that, because I could give them, hey, this is an estimate of time. I'm give myself a little breathing room. I might could make myself still enjoy that. But every day sitting here printing to get paid, that would turn it into work, and I don't know that I would enjoy it like I do now.
Like I know there's a whole company that literally does mods for Nerf guns, and they print stuff like pretty much every single day, and
Right.
they make a lot of money off of it. I don't know about
Yep.
riches, but they definitely make a sizable income doing that.
Right.
And
I've been toying with the idea of maybe setting up a way that I could have an area to maybe do some 3D printer classes, because there's not a lot of that around here. Um, I thought at one point, if I can find the financial backing or something, maybe opening up like a shop to sell printers and do some classes for people and stuff like that. But it's still very much a thought. We hadn't like said concrete, nah, this is what I'm going to do and this is how I'm going to do it, or nothing like that.
okay, because I bring this up because there is a company out there that's been doing this actually for a while, and now Adidas getting into it. They're 3D printing shoes.
Yeah,
And
out of flexible material.
fully 3D printable shoes, other than the string straps. Everything else is mostly 3D printed. Would you wear a 3D printed shoe?
If it was comfortable, I wouldn't care if it was 3D printed or not.
Okay, so even if it's a little flexible, would you find the because I had some 3D, or not personally, but I've had 3D prints for a while, and not all of it's always flexible, but there is some flexible 3D printing resin out there that I'm planning on getting, but that's like $80 a bottle. I don't know. Like the idea of rubber being around my feet, even if flexible, I don't know how sturdy it would be. I'd definitely be willing to try it on. And I know a YouTuber a while back did a video with another company that was trying to make 3D printing shoes, and he wore them for a little while, but they just started breaking apart, and then they had to what's the word for it? Then they would they remake it or revitalize it, or what's the word for it? I'm thinking of here.
They had to revamp it.
Yeah, something to make it a better version. A revision. There's a word for it.
Yeah,
Revision.
they had to go back to the drawing board and do a revision on it. Yeah.
So I don't really see. I don't know. Of course people have made leather out of cactus. So I guess if 3D printing could do that, I wonder like well the stuff you could do to actually advance the technologies of shoes, because I'm not a shoe person personally. But what could you do with the advancement of 3D printing that you couldn't do in a traditional method?
I don't know. I mean, you could probably make your shoe look just about however you wanted to. I mean, think about all those animes that you watch that have these really cool like armor looking shoes or whatever. You could print you one looking like that, and it still be a legitimate shoe to wear.
Okay, so I'm gonna show off one of the shoes that they have going on from Nikes, and you can look it on your screen and see what it looks like. This
Yep.
shoe's $160. Refresh sales growth is about 7%. This is just one pair of the shoes that they have going on for it, and it looks wild. Like I don't know how comfortable this is, but I wonder how springy it would be, how much cushion it would be, because air gaps between fabrics can make a cushion, right? So how much air gaps can you do between layers of 3D print? And would you do a resin printer or would you do a regular old spool printer? I would imagine resin, right?
I mean, they have some really flexible stuff if you're willing to pay for it that can be done on a PLA printer.
Yeah, and also,
but like I said, you got to pay for it.
Yeah, but also you can print. Some printers can print on top of cloth and then do like a sandwich effect if you have the fabric really thin.
Right.
So maybe they could do some of that, but possible. Go up here is another one right here that I think they did just pretty much the heel and the inner size, but everything else just looks like a regular thing. I thought that looked goofy as can be. I don't know who would wear that, honestly. And yeah, here's another angle at the Adidas shoe. I don't know. I think this looks pretty cool. Honestly, I'd be willing to try it out, but again, I just don't know how long term durable that would be.
I mean, it's one of those things. It's like 3D printing itself. It's gonna go through many changes to get to where it ends up.
Yeah, many revisions, you might say.
Yes.
Oops, wrong button. So I think that's pretty cool. Now, you had something that you are working on. Let me pull up the information here. You have something you're working on yourself, right?
Yeah, I got a couple different things I'm working on. You'd have to be more specific about which topic it is because I have a bunch of them.
Well, we're gonna go with the. Let me scroll up here. What's it? The first fresh resin figure.
Yeah, so I finished a resin figurine. Had Mama Corvo paint it for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I'd printed it bigger because it made it really difficult for her to do like the facial features. But all the rest of it looks good. I mean, belt colors, she did a good job matching the colors. And all that stuff. But because the face was so small, it was very hard for her to get the eye makeup. Like she didn't do too bad with like the eyebrows or the mouth.
Mm-hmm.
But the eye makeup around the eyes, it would probably take like a 1 or 2 bristle brush and someone with a severely steady hand to do it.
Yeah,
small.
like even for me, I try something if it can focus on and not my face. Let me say it. I need something white. Maybe you can stop focusing on my face so much. Cover up my face. Let's see if we can get it. There we go.
Yep.
Come on. There we go. So there we go. There's my really small figurine. This is I was trying to make a amiibo out of this character, and I could not do the eyes. I'd literally have to like take the paint and scrape it off the eyes because it's so dang small. It's so hard. Everything else is easy to paint. It's just the eyes. And I literally had to, for me, I don't know if Mama Corvo did this. I had to take a paintbrush and whittle down all the bristles on it until there were like 4 or 5 bristles on the paintbrush. I don't know if again, my face is in the way. So that's as small as I could get it. I'm like, I need something smaller than that. Like, I need something literally smaller than that.
I almost think that it would have been nice to have something that went down to like a 0 point. And it don't even have to be a paintbrush. It could be hard. Something you can dip it in to make a line of color.
Uh-huh.
You know, closest example I can come to right now is a toothpick. You know how a toothpick goes down to nothing.
Yeah.
So if you touch just the tip in the paint, maybe you can draw a line, that'll do what you want it to do.
Me, I have a little. Normally, I have a little tool on my desk right next to me. I have a little spike, a little puncturing tool that maybe you could use that, but I worry it would ball up at the end. You know what I'm saying? Like you
Right.
need to make sure you really have to make sure you smack off the excess
Right.
paint.
So
And then,
what I would think you would have to do is if you're going to do it, you got to find something that goes down to nothing, a very fine point, and then you're going to have to thin the paint so it doesn't ball up at the end. So you can make just that line.
okay, so you also have been working because we were talking about this during before the stream was going on. Working on your first. Sorry, wife's coming here to give me a kiss before she goes to work. What about anything anybody done?
Already been taken out.
Okay.
Already been fed.
I love you. All right, chat. Sorry about that. So you've been working on your coloring resin and your experiments with that. Now, how is
Yes.
that going for you?
Okay, I got some examples for you. I just got to get them out. So
Now,
you can
for those
see.
those who are maybe wondering what we're talking about here, for anybody that does not know, there is a kit you can buy on Amazon. I will probably try to put the link in the description if anybody's interested. I try to put a lot of the links if I can. But for dyes that you can put in your resin that are actually meant for resin UV lights.
All right,
I
so
use paint.
so here's a red that I did.
Whoop, 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 whoop. Oh shit! Can you hear me?
So yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, so
So that's the red that I did.
yeah, our power just went out.
Oh crap!
So give me a second. Are we still live?
Yeah, we're still live. I lost you on the. I mean, I'll have visual on you. I just had the grumpy, the grumpy picture, but
Okay, so luckily I had well, its power's back on now, but we might have lost the stream. Give it a second.
yeah, it dropped for just a second. I'm waiting to watch it come back up.
Okay, I hope it's back up. I'm not back up though, so
It looks like it's coming back up now because it looks like it reconnected.
there we go. Hopefully we are
Yeah.
back on.
All right.
Good thing I have a power surge protector battery bank thing. Probably should be more than.
It's called an APC, buddy.
Yeah, and of course now you can see all this over here, my wife's side, and then of course a little bit of the display case. So get this fixed
Right.
again. Yay!
Yep.
God damn.
So that was the red. I have a green and a blue for you.
Yeah, I
So-
definitely like the red. Oh, the green.
That's the green.
I like that I have the thickness of the snake area is a little bit thicker, so it doesn't have so much light going through it. So it has a little bit
Right.
more of a darkness to that.
And here's a light blue.
Turn out wonderful. Turn out great.
Yeah, I mean it's something that I did learn as we were talking about earlier.
Mhm.
When you're doing this, whatever color you're going for, always go like a shade darker in that color. Because what happens is when you put it in the UV light, the color gets a little lighter.
Okay, so it downgrades.
Yeah, it gets a little lighter. But I'm gonna tell you that it's really nice. It's nice to not have to go, oh, I need to buy a whole bottle of this color or a whole bottle of that color when you're only going to print maybe one or two items in that color. Just buy you a bottle of clear and measure you out, 50 milliliters, 100 milliliters, whatever you need.
Yeah.
Color that amount of resin and pour it in there. I mean, I have a glass measuring cup that's all that's for.
It's all it's
I don't
ever
use
going to
it-
be for.
That's all it's ever going to be for. That's what I use it for. That was also a donation from Mama Corvo.
Which is, take notes, folks. If you're trying to get into 3D printing, and resin is, I think resin really is still going from a spool resin or a spool printer to a resin It is so nice. I just, again, like last week's conversation, I wish there was some cheaper resin out there without having to spend an arm and a leg.
Right. And I also have found, too, if you find a resin you like, that's a key thing, too. Because, like, I love this resin right here. Mainly because it's a little thinner than most of the other resins I've had. So cleanup is... I can throw it in that little cleaner that I've got mocked up behind me. I've got to finish getting all the details done on it. But I can throw it in there for maybe 5 minutes, pull it out, pat it dry, slap it in the cure, and when it comes out, it looks like I said, like this. It looks just like that.
That would be, now that I'm thinking about it, that would be a really good video. If somebody would go online and buy a bunch of different types of resin of the same, like, let's say, buy a bunch of clear, right?
Yep.
And then print with all the clears and see which clear is the best for your price.
Right.
But at the same time, also I'm thinking about it, what if you did a video where you buy all the cheapest resin, UV resin for 3D printing, all the cheapest one you can find, and find what's the best cheapest one.
Right.
But then
that would be a good video. That actually is not a bad idea. Maybe let me think about that for a little while.
Yeah, because that would just bring out, like, that would just be so helpful to people. At the same time, I don't see anybody else doing it because,
like
I said, the very the prices of UV curable 3D printing resin isn't very well known, and most of it is kind of pricey. But
so this is a bottle of the dye.
All I see is a big old white shining light.
This is white. This is the white dye. And then let's see, what is this? That's yellow. Nope, no. That's green. So that green that you seen?
Yeah.
Come out of that bottle right there.
Okay, look, use that much either.
No. And I tell you, my lovely wife, she's a genius. She pointed out that once you figure out the mix, you should keep up with it, because then you can label it like light green, dark green, grass green, whatever. And like, I'm going to start an Excel spreadsheet that literally says, dark green, 50 milliliter resin, X amount of drops of color. And then, every time you make 50 milliliters with that ratio, you're going to get that color. And once you get all the main colors that you like to print,
yeah,
I mean, it gets much easier. Like you seen, we had a good idea when we were mixing that red prior to podcast, kind of where we wanted it to be. So you seen, it might have took her 2-3 minutes to mix that up.
Yeah. And
we were done, and it's in a container, and it's ready to go in there as soon as podcast is over to start on that project. It doesn't take long to do it at all. And the nice thing is like I said, that die pack we're talking about, you read it, it's specifically for UV curable resin.
Seeing all this, then doing all this kind of reminds me of paint. When people like some videos, they were like, here's a little bit of blue, here's a little bit of red, and a pinch of this. What color will it be? And you take a guess, and it will shake the video, and then pop it out, and then there's the color.
So me and Stealthy had a discussion the other day. Something I'm going to try with some clear. Is I'm going to pour a vat of clear. I'm going to take 3 colors, and I'm going to make color swirls in there, because as long as you don't mix it, it'll sit there.
Okay.
And then I'm going to try a print and see if I can get a tie-dye effect.
It'd definitely be a little difficult without the colors mixing, but if you don't maybe swirl it or shake it around too much, maybe the colors won't sink into each other's. Maybe the velocity or viscosity. Yeah, the viscosity of one color will be heavier than the other color, so maybe they will stay separated.
An example is like that white that I just showed you.
Yeah.
It is definitely heavier than all the other colors in the pack.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is the only color in that die pack that you have to shake up before you add it because it separates.
I can see that. Okay.
Okay. So, and at the same time, I think the red is heavier than the blue. And I think the green is about the same as the red, and maybe a little lighter. I'm not sure as far as the weight, but like when you drop it in the resin, you can see the red will kind of it'll sit on top until you shake it, but it will get down in like maybe the first millimeter or so of the resin on its own.
Yeah.
Whereas the green will sit right at the top. It doesn't go down. Whereas the white will go straight to the freaking bottom.
Yeah, because like the kind of reminds me of, I don't know if you've ever seen before, those things you would flip over and like they had the oil, they have a color dye and water in it, and then the oil will always go to the very, very bottom. The color dye would always go to the middle, and the water will always be at the very, very top. Even though it's all liquid, it just shows you what mass has a higher density than the water itself. And you would flip it and you would see all of it mixed together and think, oh, it's gonna mix together. Nope. It'll immediately start falling to its layer.
Right. The only problem I have with that idea of testing it is I'm trying to think of something that would look cool tie-dye if it worked. And I am pulling a blank right now. I'm almost tempted to just say forget it and do like a flower, like a rose or a daisy or something, and make it tie-dye.
Okay, I can see that's going about. I would show you my example of my amiibo, but like it turned out pretty good. The little stand for it, because I had a purple or I had a pink and white in it. It did okay job, but it wasn't really like it mixed how I wanted in some spots, but in other spots it did not. If that makes any sense. Like it looks cool here, but looks bad here. But I just kind of went, oh well, it's already printed out. So and I was just again, we want to talk about some things that are 3D printing. I thought would be a little more interesting. And I was thinking about like, what was the first 3D printer I ever seen? Now, do you remember what was your first 3D printer you saw? You said you saw it in a.
I seen it in a Barnes and Nobles.
Mm-hmm.
There was a guy there. I guess he was a 3D printer salesperson or whatever. They had let him put up a little table over there and set his little 3D printer up back when all the small, even the PLA printers were like completely enclosed, had doors on the front of them and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And he was printing a Pokeball. And I remember that was before they perfected the ability to make round edges. So it still had like pixelated blocks looking,
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
And I was sitting there watching that, and this man was trying hard to sell it. And I remember telling Stealthy as we were walking out, that is so freaking cool. If I could afford to have one, I believe I could get into that. And then fast forward years later, I'm talking to you one night, and you start telling me about yours, and I'm like, huh. And then she won the raffle, and I had the piece that you printed in my hand. I was like, this looks so much better than that pixelated shit. Wait a minute.
So I said before, I remember my first official 3D printer was literally a what do we say, like a 50 by 50 bed. It was small as could be. It was way out of my price range. And but then I realized that was not the first 3D printer I ever seen. Now,
really?
No, because back in the day, World of Warcraft used to do these cells where you can take your character and have them 3D print your character from the game, and they would send it to you, but it costs an arm and a leg to get your character 3D printed and then send it to you. And I was wondering, like, how did they 3D print that stuff? And I'm like, okay. And I found out some of the first 3D printers were not made out of filament, was not made out of resin, but made out of powder. Powder-based 3D printer.
Okay.
Now
you're gonna have to. I gotta see what.
Okay. So I do have an example here. Okay, let me pull it up here. So we go right here. Okay, so this is a company right now that's using that same technology back then, but this is a 100% biodegradable shoes. If you were to want it to be biodegradable, another shoes, but they're using the technology that they used back then for 3D printing. Now let me go ahead and show up the screen here. Caption. Okay, big face. All right, so here is what 3D printing used to look like. Now, if everybody's confused what you're exactly looking at here, this is, I'm going to zoom out a little bit. This is a bottom heel of a shoe. And you see all that powder down below when they're brushing it off?
Yeah.
That was 3D printed. So what they would do, right? They would put a very fine layer of powder down at the very base. One little layer. They would laser it, and it would melt and become a solid. Another layer of very finely powder would fall down. Laser it, adhere to the bottom layer. You get what I'm saying here? Another layer of powder, laser, little layer, powder, layer, powder, layer, powder. And they would keep on doing this over and over and over again, and all that powder of plastic would adhere to itself and make a 3D model. And that's how they used to make 3D models back in the day.
That's kind of amazing. I'm gonna have to look up a video and watch one of those run now.
But they're also using that technology to go even further. Somebody apparently a couple years back has made not only some 3D prints out of metal, but it's the same methodology. They made a mini jet engine.
A jet engine.
A jet engine. Let me pull this up over here. Right here, we have a video of it. Short little video of it. Here is the first ever 3D printed mini jet engine, made out of metal, but fully 3D printed. And it works. But it costs about around like $6 billion to engineer it and design it and make it and all that stuff. So technology. Haha. Sorry, I didn't pull up a little higher. First test. This is apparently the first test ever. But yeah, there it is. 3D printing.
Way back in the day of the dyno, when I was working to pay off student loan, the hospital had a printer to make hazard bins for needles, but it never used a powder.
Never used a powder? Okay. What how they did that?
That's interesting.
Like,
hey, Pesky.
They're supposed to be working on the advancements of 3D printing when it comes to
I'm glad, Pesty, I swapped to a GoPro Hero 9. That's why my camera's looking better.
I just wish they would hurry up with advancement of 3D printing for the medical field, because that's a field that I feel like 3D printing can do the most good at. I already do. Shoes aside, engines, that's cool. The medical field. We're talking about a micro layers of material going down and making objects at a micro millimeter way. So if we could just fine it down to that and learn how to use cells like they were trying to do and make organs, like I don't think no one would ever die. Like we would, like, hey, my heart's going out, my heart's failing. Let me just 3D print you a new heart.
Appreciate that. I'm glad it looks sharper.
I'm glad to see you back, Pestilence. I miss you, bro. So Pestilence, if you can give me like a link to something like that your people were trying at your hospital, I would like to see it, honestly. But yeah, I think that kind of stuff right there. Just the advancement on 3D printing has come a long way for where it was, and I'll say this time and time again. And I wish and I hope that it never stops. I feel like if it comes more mainstream, kind of like a phone, right? If they could just push it into more mainstream light, people will take that. People that are normally like, let's say like the technology of phones, right? Like when the first phones came out, there wasn't a lot of money putting behind it, right? They were
Right.
big, clunky. Not everybody had one. It was kind of expensive to make. But the more it came available to everybody, some people started getting into the field and started like making real advancements to it that weren't even inside of companies, and they got hired, and then they started making true investments to the technology, and it has rapidly grown over the years. Now it's kind of stagnated, but I feel like if 3D printing could be like that, getting to the mainstream, something else out there would be like, okay, we can make this better. Let's put a lot of money behind it and a lot of like genius minds and see
Yeah.
what they can make.
Agreed.
Rather than just us hobby people just trying to make some cool figurines.
Hey, don't be knocking my figurines.
Hey, I have plenty of them myself. So I really would love if someone out there could just help push it to the limelight. I know there's people online trying to, but there's literally not enough. And I get it, right? It's still seen as a hobby, and even if they make advancements to it, I'm gonna still be seen as a hobby for myself, because I'm not out there trying to make try to make someone a heart or trying to make someone a rocket engine. But imagine if you could make yourself a rocket engine.
Well, I mean, I don't know that I care about a rocket engine, but there's a lot of things I could think of. If I could print it and make my life easier, I would do it.
Now, we were talking about earlier, before the podcast, the invention of 3D scanners.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, we were.
So, for anybody out there that does not know 3D scanners, give them a rough roundabout idea what that is.
Okay, so what a basic 3D scanner does is use either a very highly tuned camera or a laser, a projected laser to basically judge the outer layer of an object to see how, what's the geometry of it. It scans it in, makes a 3D object, and then you can save it off to a file type that is then capable of being processed through a slicer program for printing. One of the ones that I've looked at is cheaper. It looks kind of goofy, but it uses 3 lasers projected vertically towards a turntable. So you sit whatever object you're scanning on the turntable, and it turns slowly. These three lasers hit the surface of it, and not only do they have the ability to scan the geometry of the outer layer, but some of them have the ability to capture the colors of the outer layer and actually make a colored 3D object that you can see rendered. The only downside is that when you're working with a turntable type of a system, you don't get to scan the bottom.
Yeah, the bottom of the
figurines. The bottom it will be missing. That will be something you would have to add, which is not too terribly difficult. Not really. I mean, if you import an object into a program and make it like, a hole and stamp a square block with it, just a little bit where you get the right outline, you can then remove the unneeded material, shrink it down and make it the proper thickness and stuff to fill that void.
If everybody's watching, for those who are watching, I'm showing a lot of little gifs of some 3D printers or scanners out there. Some of them are handheld and then moved around a lot. Some of them are stationary, like you were saying. Then the station is moved around, and sometimes camera are stationary or the object is stationary, and the camera just rotates around it on its own. There's a few phone ones out there. They're not that good, I'm gonna tell you right now. So don't even try to use those. I personally would like to have one of those because I think something like that, right, would be good if something were to break, right? And let's say a part of my refrigerator would break, or for me, a part of my figurine would break, and I would take that part, glue it back together, 3D scan it, and then 3D print it, and then bam, there's a replacement right there.
Pestilence says she answered him pretty quick. The printer was a Polyjet, and the maker was EBM.
Polyjet. Okay, let me Google that up real fast because I'm curious now.
Thanks for getting us that info, Pesty.
EB what?
EBM is in Mary.
Okay. All right. So what we're doing now? So you were looking at one on Amazon for like 160.
It was $160, and I understand you get what you pay for, but I've seen a couple people use them, and for a home hobbyist, it's not really all that bad. Like I said, you might would have to add the bottom, after you were done with your scan to finish the model, but I don't think it would be that hard. It would be nice because, like you said, then you could take objects around your house. Like, let's say I wanted a round object, but I can't quite get the degree of the curve that I want myself manually in a program. I could scan that in and cut it into parts, and then I have saved the parts to use to make models,
Okay.
That in and of itself would be nice. Also, you have the ability to then take things like, let's say you're going to modify something like a camera, you make a camera mount or something for your printer. Well, if you know that this one piece, if it just had an arm coming off of it, right?
Yeah.
Would be great, but you don't want to sit there and take all the measurements. You just take that piece off, scan it in, make it a 3D model, and then add the arm to it and make it a solid object. Makes it a lot easier because then it's exactly just like the one that you just scanned because you scanned it. It was the negative for it.
Yeah, and you have to, for those who are understanding, you have to really scan scan for a long time because getting every nicks and crannies of the details of the things. So okay, I found them, and these things are super expensive, and they're huge. Wow, like I can see why like these things are cabinet-sized 3D printers.
Yeah.
So weird to see this. I think okay, what's his name? Jeff Dunham? I think I've seen him have this one right here. If I'm not mistaken. But they seem to be like a resin printer, but I guess a more advanced version. I don't really know for entirety, but I wish there was a video for it. I was trying to see if there was a video for it I can maybe find to.
Let me see what I can find real quick too. He said they're medical grade printers, and the full name, let's see, was Arcam EBM. So let's see if I can find a video on that.
So, when you do tell me, because I can't find anything in particular. I would like to see like just a inside of it look like the when it's actually going.
Yeah, I'm pulling something up now. Looks like GE made them. And give me a second. I'm going to do a quick look at this video to see whether it shows what we want to see.
Okay, well, I found something. I don't really know if this is it or not, but it kind of might remind me when I'm looking at it. Kind of reminds me of the powder resin, but this is the metal version of it. I don't know if these printers do the same thing exactly. I'm just gonna say that out front. But okay, let me get this inside here. Kind of hard to do because. Okay, press play. Okay, but yeah, this was what I talked about earlier about like putting down a layer and then doing laser and print layer by layer by layer, and then the bottom of it goes downwards, I don't know if that's what it does for that type of printer, but that's very much the idea of the powder resin and the metal 3D printing out there. And it's this technology because like for those who don't understand, for 3D printing, you can literally print things and objects inside of objects inside of objects, which in the natural world you could not do. Like there's no way of doing it. And if you need an object inside that object to move, let's say with magnets or whatnot, you could do that because, it's printed where the motion of it would stay good. And also, you don't worry about, liquids and fluids from escaping it if you need to put that inside and then say weld it shut. That liquid and fluids would never go anywhere or go bad because it will be self-contained inside of a sealed compartment. And yeah, this right here is just showing more of you. It's just showing. I'm just redoing the video again. I think this technology is so cool, but these things are huge, and it do take a long time to print. Like this, let me just say it like that. 3D printing is not the most quickest of development and product making. It's mostly meant for either if you want it to be a finished product and actually a completed project, it'll take you hours. But also, it's either that or it's a prototype. So therefore, you're going to be doing it to test out a theory whether or not this would work or not. Like, let me see if this could do what I want it to do. Okay, and it washes off the access stuff that got magnetized to it or stuck to it. Goodness gracious. All I know is starting from the medical off, it took 50 hours to print a horizontal beam for patients. Oh yeah, I can totally see that 50 hours. Because you need to make sure for medical field, you need to make sure that stuff is precise. So people would be like, well, that's not worth it because it just takes so long to print.
I shot you a link. It's not a very long video. It's like maybe 2 minutes, but it does kind of give you an idea of a little more of how it works.
That's exactly the video I just pulled up.
Okay.
Okay, but yeah, so yeah, I would you ever find a necessary use out of a 3D printer that does metal? Like, what could you imagine you could do with a metal 3D printer?
Well, I mean, like, take for instance, I know they have aluminum printers. I know it.
Yeah.
Okay. They have printers that print aluminum. Well, I mean, think about it. Look at a car. Some cars have aluminum pistons. Some cars have aluminum blocks. Mm-hmm. Some cars have aluminum intakes. Imagine. Oh, my intake busted. That's usually $600, $700, $800. Well, wait, I have this printer over here, and I know exactly how this works. Let me 3D scan it in after I've glued it back together, and print a new one. Yeah. I didn't even have to go to the auto parts store.
And do you feel like that would? Well, for one thing, you think something that enticement of possibly being able to do that if you were educated enough. I'm not saying anybody out there could just go, all right, I'm just going to go online and find me a piston, of my model and make online and then to 3D print it. You have to be pretty smart to do that kind of stuff. But do you think that would ever be enticing to people to actually want to?
Well, I know for a fact from someone who has family members in the automobile repair field. There's been hundreds of times where, they only had one piston or one rod break. Now all they need to do is replace it. If all they had to do was drop out one that's next to it that's still in good shape and still functions properly, throw it on a scanner, scan it, and then hit a button and print a new one out, it would cut down a whole lot of time.
Yeah, especially if you need to, because I'm not a metal worker here, anybody, or I'm not really understand the entire ins and out on how you make a metal block engine, but it's mostly casting, right? Like a cast iron, right? You melt, you have a mold, and you have a lot of metal. You pour it into that mold, and then, right? Or am I?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of engines are cast. There would be no other way to get them really in the shape and fashion that they are in to fit in a vehicle, more compact and stuff that they do like they do now.
And I'm sure they maybe have like one of those like spitting metal cutters that go inside of it and hollow it out and maybe like
Oh
cut
yeah,
the
a honing machine. Yes, they make a honing machine for that. Yep.
and cut it out and make sure it's more refined and inside and more, precise and leveled and all that good stuff. But you imagine the 3D printer going to cut both of those machines and both of those things out and just print it all one thing, and no leveling required, no cutting required, no melting of iron and pouring into a mold. It's just prints it and done.
Yeah, exactly, Pesty. That's exactly what I'm talking about. If you had something like that where you could do it yourself, it would be fantastic.
I think that's investments that a lot of us are either taking it for advantage of, or a lot of us are not, very much paying attention to. Like, how long has 3D printing been out for? I would say I've been knowing about 3D printers of various types probably since 2009, maybe 10.
Yep.
So we're going on 11 years now, and
Yeah.
we're still just only printing figurines. Because it's kind of funny for me. It went from powder figurines of World of Warcraft. That was my whole reason why I wanted a 3D printing. Now I'm 3D printing out of resin and spools, and I'm still wanting for the same thing, but it hasn't been really an advancement for like a life-changing event.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's one of those things where like just because we can only print, figurines and stuff, I guarantee you somewhere somebody has the next greatest printer, some government agency, some private corporation or something. That shit's sitting in the basement, and they're making something every day that people probably put their hands on, and you don't even realize that it was printed because the technology's that far over what we are currently running. At some point, it'll get out there. At some point, we'll find out about it, and they'll make smaller versions of it or cheaper versions of it, and we'll get into it. But they're going to hold that as close and as tight to the vest as possible for as long as they can, because once it's out there and other people can simulate what they're doing, they lose the corner of the market.
Yeah, I think there's a 3D printing. Don't quote me on this, but I think there's a 3D, not a resin, but 3D printing company out there that 3D prints actual, not like plastic or a attachment or maybe a whatever. Actually 3D prints full on guns. But at the same time, I'm thinking about it. The advancement of 3D printing homes, that's a pretty big advancement.
Yeah, you're right, Pesty. I didn't think about that, but yeah, 3D printing has been around technically since the 80s. It just wasn't feasible price wise, and it wasn't feasible like footprint wise to be able to do it.
I'm gonna do a quick search and see what I can find. Printing. Try to see if I can find an image or something like that. Okay, if that's 3D, I don't know if that's 3D printing. I'm trying to find something. Okay, so what is this? Go away, all you advertisements. Let's see. Okay, so I don't know, but this looks like a 3D printer from the 80s. I'm not entirely sure. I'm gonna post this in the chat, so if anybody here is in the podcast listening in, you want to look at this yourself, here we go. You can go to that link right there. But I guess this is a 3D printer back then. I just don't like it. Doesn't have no video of it like printing, so I don't know how exactly it works.
Yeah.
It was in 1986. A horror forum company called a 3D system to better make his cells rapid phototyping machine that which you can since earn 3D name 3D printer, additional manufacturing machine on the May 21st of last year, okay, Holland earned the honor of being introduced into the National Inventory Hall of Fame. Okay, so I guess this was one of the first 3D printers out there.
Wow, that thing. SLA. It was an SLA printer.
So yeah, it definitely looks pretty dang old because that's a block. That's a cube monitor right there.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you look at that really close, that's probably they were probably running the OS on that thing off of a freaking floppy.
Yeah, and then
I
you
mean,
got like
Testy can correct me if he knows better, but I can't tell the model, but I swear that looks like one of the machines that I played Doom or freaking Wolfenstein on.
yeah, and then of course we got this other computer, and got another computer down there, and the whole machine is about as big as my desk. So this thing is freaking huge, and we got another one like I guess this is another version of it that they maybe tried back then. It looks cool. I would love to see this run. Like I would love to see how this runs, or this one. Like I don't care they're making like a 1 inch by 1 inch 3D model, and it turns out it looks like crap. I just want to see how it goes. It could be very much the powder version that I talked about earlier, just a older version of the powder. It's so fascinating how technology is. Like you don't really see how the advancements of it stuff goes until it just goes.
Yeah.
I'm so because when I think about it, I always go back to the phone because the phone's the best correlation for me because phone used to be like 5 times as big as this in thickness and in width and have a screen as big as my thumb. And nowadays, like literally, this can fit in my pocket, and it's a full on screen and touch and technology. I love it.
Yeah.
So if you haven't already hit that like button, be sure to hit that like button. Go ahead and do it. If you don't do it, you want the channel to fail. You want this podcast to not go nowhere. You don't want to see. So hit that like button.
Yeah.
I've been watching some other people and they do that all the time. So don't blame me. Blame them. I learned it from them. They taught me bad habits. Unlike me though, I can't just stop the show. Or unlike them, I can't just stop the show and wait for you to hit that like button. So hit it. Appreciate it. All right. So I just want to know. I just want to see it run. I do. I'm so fixated on that now.
I know. I'm scrolling for videos right now. I want to see a machine that old print something. That would be crazy. I mean, I see images all over the place of the thing.
Mm-hmm. Now, for 3D printing, I know you saying you're gonna be 3D printing you some things. Now, you were working on your mask the other week.
Yeah. So what I'm doing with it, I've got a few details that I'm working on the model, cleaning up some of the edges. Some of the edges protrude a little more than I want them to.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm softening them a little bit. But as soon as I get that thing done, that's gonna go on a live stream on the spool printer.
Yeah.
And we're gonna run that off, and I'll probably do another stream of me painting it and all that good stuff. But I'm working on it. It's taking a little time because I want it the way I want it, and
it's also like your first baby, so
it's for me, and it is based around Corvo Ninja, the whole idea behind that tag. So I want it to look kind of a specific way. You're probably one of the few people that we've had a conversation on what that tag means and entails to me.
Mm-hmm.
So
now,
I fully plan. I fully plan that once it's printed, painted, and done, to wear it for a stream.
Okay. So what program are you doing and where did you learn to actually start making 3D models?
Okay, so the program that I'm using is I'm using a combination of programs. I'm using Blender and Mesh Mixer. So Blender is it's pretty good at like the modeling part of it, getting it modeled.
Mm-hmm.
Mesh Mixer is better for like, let's say I want to hollow something, or I want to work with the mesh itself, like the gridding, how tight the triangles are for the grid and all that stuff. Mesh Mixer's a little more intuitive on how to do that. They both have the ability to do it, but it's a little harder to memorize the steps for it inside of Blender.
Mm-hmm.
Blender, I would say I use Blender more for the sculpting and use Mesh Mixer more for the model preparation.
Now I've heard, but I don't really know. If this is like my brain might be skipping something on here. I heard some people use like AutoCAD to
Yes.
make 3D models.
I started with a free online program that's sponsored by AutoCAD. It's called Tinkercad.
Okay.
So when you open up Tinkercad, you make you a little account. It's free. It doesn't cost you anything. You open up Tinkercad, and out the gate, you get some basic shapes: squares, circles, balls, all kinds of, all those basic shapes.
Yeah.
It's very easy to use. You can take it, and I can take a square and sit it on there, and then go grab a sphere and sit it on there. And as long as they're touching, I can shift and click both of them and hit merge, and it'll merge them into a single object. Now I have a square with a sphere sitting on top of it, and it'll print all one solid piece.
Okay.
It also has the ability to, let's say I'm making a basic base for like the Pokemon balls.
Mm-hmm.
So I can import that Pokemon ball object in there, and then I can take a square and slide it over there, and I can say, okay, make the Pokemon ball a hole, which basically makes it negative space.
Yeah.
Then all I had to do is sit that object on that square, click both of them, and hit merge, and it'll take out any of that square that is touching the object. So basically, I just made this the perfect cradle for that object.
See, now that I'm thinking about that, if I would take that one figurine I told you that doesn't have a stand to it, and if I were to 3D scan it, and then put that into that 3D scan into an object and use that as a negative, it would make the perfect stand for it.
Right. Absolutely. That's where I was going with that. So, like I'm working on a stand for our Pokeballs right now. And in that stand, I'm also cutting a negative space into it so that you can drop a remote controlled LED light.
Ooh, definitely give me that when you're done.
It will be sitting directly below where the ball is. You can hit a button, turn it on, change the color. If it's hollow and it's clear, that ball can become any color you want and shine as bright as you want it to.
I like that.
And you still have the ability, if you want to pick it up and touch it, you just pick it up off the stand. Now, granted, when you take it off the stand, it's going to go back to being transparent because there's no colored light shining through it. But you have the ability to still hold your object, see all that pretty detail, fine detail, and then sit it back on the stand and have it any color you want it.
Okay, so here's something if I have to commission you to do it someday, I will. But I want a Dragon Ball. You know the Dragon Balls, right? There's just a spherical item with the star inside of it. But I want 2 Dragon Balls with a negative star in it. So what I gotta do when I'm done printing, put red inside of it, right? Let it cure, and then put the rest of the resin, stick them together, and there's your Dragon Ball. Let it cure.
I can already do that. I've already worked on that. I have a Dragon Ball that already has the negative space for the star in it.
Because you couldn't just, well, you probably could, but it wouldn't look good. You couldn't like have a hole going all the way down to the star and try to pour resin down to each star and then somehow cure it and then pour regular resin, because it wouldn't be. I won't think it would come off as 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 clean looking.
Right. So here's the trick. So I can do that, and that ain't that difficult, especially if you're just doing like the 1-star ball to begin with,
Yeah.
because I got a sphere. All I've got to do is hollow it, set the wall parameters, and then cut it in half,
Yeah.
and then take your star, make an object out of it. So then what you do is you print the star in red, and then you print your shell in whatever color you want it to be in.
Okay, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Okay. So when you're done, you take this half, you pour clear resin in it, you lay your star in the center of it, you cure it, but make sure you leave a little of it protruding,
Yeah.
because then you're going to do the same thing with the other half, and you're going to sit that half on top of it.
Like a key, but it's a negative.
Like a key. You're going to sit it on top of it,
Mm-hmm.
and then you're going to stick the whole thing in the cure to finish the cure, and it will seal it all completely together.
Yeah.
And then when you shine a light on it, you will have a red star in the center of your ball.
Yeah, that's what I would like to do, because I want Dragon Balls, but I don't want to buy like the store-bought versions of them, because, well, they will be kind of small, and Dragon Balls are normally not, like, they're only palm sized, not little globes, but also like they got the dynamic versions, and God,
Right.
I would love to have the dynamic
Now,
versions, but
if you want to have a lot of fun and make it look really good when you finish it,
mhm,
you start with some like 140 grit paper,
yeah,
sand over it, 240, 380, and then go all the way to like 1200 with wet sand,
yeah,
and then buy you some resin polish. Polish the outside of it and buff it, and it will shine like glass.
that's what I want it to do.
And it will be beautiful. And then you can make that stand I'm talking about right there in Tinkercad.
Yep. And it's just have the balls glowing, especially if you could engineer it where you can have, if you were a smart person and you knew how to program things. Of course, that'd be entirely different kind of field that I'm not particularly accustomed to have the little effect of the whoom, whoom. You know what I'm talking about? Where the balls are right next to each other when they're glowing, kind of pulsing. And then
That's taken care of with your light, because that remote control light does everything that our light strips do. They will pulse whatever color you want.
I know, but like the sound that goes with it, though, like
the audible, yeah, you just need to record it and then stick it on a player
and try to sync it up, and then try to make it look, one compact little component.
Yeah, well, what you would do is you would put it on a player, and you would take the lead wires on the player that actually turns the player on and off, allows it to release sound to the speaker, and you would attach it to the light, so that when the light come on, the player come on. When the light goes off, the player goes off.
Oh,
and it you don't have to sync anything, because it's only going to play when the light's on.
Gotcha. Okay. 3D printing sounds like they could print some grenades for real use. Honestly, yeah, you probably could. And it probably would be destructive. I just don't know how you would set off the gunpowder, if I'm saying this right. You said grenades, right? Like maybe two chemicals that you wouldn't normally want to mix together, have inside of the ball, and then shake the shit out of it, then it would blow up. I don't know how long that would last, though.
Not a bad idea, Pesty. Add some phosphorescence, and it could glow under any radiant light.
I want to have a resin droplets for that.
Hey, they've got it in tattoo ink.
Yeah, I guess that's pretty much the same stuff. I'm using literally airbrush paint to color my dye right now. One of tattoo ink would be as liquidy and as
Holy shit, I just realized something.
What?
I actually have some black light tattoo ink down the hall from when I used to run tattoos.
Well, you might need to test out a
The
small.
mind has started coming up with an idea.
Just hope you don't forget about it.
No, imagine a glowing Pokemon ball in black light. Like you could click a black light on and it would glow.
Yeah, speaking of remembering stuff, hit that like button. Anyways, how long we been going for? I don't want to keep you. Okay, we've been going a little longer, but yeah. That would be it for today. Thank you for all for those coming today. Corvo, you have anything you want to bring out or anything you want to say before we end the stream today?
No, we're good. This has been a good one. I enjoyed this one, but then again, I love talking about 3D printing. So,
like I said, I'm thinking about making of course, 3D printings won't be the main thing or like normally always the main thing because I know we go on rants, but I'm thinking about trying to make this podcast go a little bit toward more 3D printing, and I'm trying to think of some cool names to still bring in the Bear Thoughts because I don't want to take that away too much, but incorporate 3D printing in the wording somehow.
yeah,
because 3D printing is something me and you get very much into, and I'm sure there's a abundant of things that I can think of conversations for 3D printing. But we're just going to go on rants on other conversations that would come across or come to a collab with that. I do want to ask you real quick, what is the thing you're doing with your kids? You said you have an event for your kids.
Okay, so we are about to unleash our children into the world of recreational sports.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yep. So I am going to sign our oldest up for his first year of tackle football. And our youngest, I'm going to release him upon the flag football world.
So they're going to football.
Yeah. Plan on registering them Friday. Shouldn't affect anything we're doing here, but there will be some nice probably incidents for discussion come out of that. One of my coworkers, I told him what I was going to do, and he literally looked at me and said, "Why would you do that to the other children in this city?"
I never could join any sports. I couldn't very much join sports. Like my mom didn't let me join anything for the longest of times. I don't think I'm not upset about that. But as I was younger, I wanted to join like a little bit of football team or a little bit of soccer team or baseball. I wanted to do anything when I was younger. But when I got older, it's like I just want to play video games. That's all I want to do. So
yep, we're a little excited.
They will probably be excited to be able to get that at the house, get some of the energy out, and maybe they'll teach them some lessons in life.
You know, they're excited, but I'm not sure that I wouldn't say that I'm not as excited as they are. One of the things my parents told me growing up that they enjoyed was sitting in the stands and watching me play and watching some of the crazy stuff that happened while I was playing, how just utterly enjoyable it was and how it helped them forget the stresses of the average everyday workday. I am very much looking forward to that.
And while you're out doing that, you have a 3D printer going at home.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, this is me. I'm at work and there's printers running. You know, I stop my stream from my desk sometimes when it finishes.
Don't you wish you could just put another thought out there? Don't you wish you could have a 3D resin printer that or spool that can swap out the filament for you and take out the print for you and then keep on and then start the next print
That's a good question, Pesty. The only problem is around here, as hot as it is, it's not a big thing that they do. It's not a very popular sport in this area of the country. I think they would be fine with it. I just think that we just happen to live in an area that's not going to be very, very beneficial for them to do it. I mean, and that's not the only sport. Like me personally, growing up, I wanted to take fencing. The closest thing I could get to it was hand-to-hand martial arts because there weren't any fencing schools around me.
My niece they did hockey for a little while. I love her to death, but she's a little go-getter. She's a little athletic girl. Now she's playing volleyball. It's one of those things. It's just whatever, and she's like whatever's the flavor of the month for her. That's what she's playing. Yeah. And I love her to death, but man, she's all over the place.
Well, I mean, our oldest has talked about wanting to play football for a long time.
Mhm.
You know, um, so we finally, me and Stealthy sat down last night, talked to him, and then had a discussion with him, and we've decided that Friday we're signing them up, and we're gonna head down that adventure road. Yay! The kids are finally getting into the extracurriculars.
Yeah, helmets, shoulder pads, the uniform, and then teaching them you're going the wrong way. And you have the Karen beside you. Your son hit my child too hard. Shut up.
Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to say that to Stealthy because you've been around Stealthy long enough to imagine what her reply to that is. You know, um, God bless my wife. She's a sweetheart, but when it comes to her children, if you press the wrong button, you're liable to get a tongue lashing that you won't recover from for a month.
I'm gonna mentally scar you for life. All right, but anyways, I'm gonna hold up anybody more. Hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and please share it. Again, you don't want the channel to succeed. You don't want to grow. You share this video. Get this podcast around.
The more you guys share, the more we're gonna be here. So bring it on.
Bring on the new people. Love you old folks. Hit that button. Again, if you want to catch us live here on YouTube at Grumpy B Gaming every Wednesday at 5 o'clock Central PST time, I will be going live on my own channel here in about an hour or so after I get myself some food. I take care of any other business I might need to take care of, and as soon as I'm done with that, I will be going live. Corvo, I know you probably be playing not very much long tonight, but if I can, I'd like to catch up with y'all so I can help y'all with some of the world bosses, because I need some of them too. I need the red fire one, by the way.
Yeah, I need some eternal burning seeds and such. So
I need fire. I need wind. I need earth.
I need everything
I need
right
water.
now.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to catch me live at twitch.tv/GrumpyBear, links are below. And also for his side, if you want to catch any of his live streams where you might do using 3D printing, you want to catch how the 3D printing works, and hopefully someday you'll have the 3D printing for the resin. Wink, wink. Get that done. Be sure to hit up his channel. And of course, be sure to hit our Twitter pages at the Grumpy Bear for him. Corvo as it's Corvo Ninja or Ninja Corvo. I always type in Ninja Corvo and that pulls up for some reason, but it's Corvo Ninja, right?
Yeah. For my Twitch, it's Corvo Ninja.
I think your Instagram it's probably Ninja. Your Twitter's Ninja.
It's Twitter. It's Twitter that's the other way around because somebody had already done it. Corvo Ninja, so it's Twitter that's the other way.
Okay, so I couldn't quite remember entirely. So be sure to hit me on there because I do enter a contest. I just entered a contest just yesterday, which I did tag you and Stealthy in if you wanted to enter that. And anybody else want to join this contest, because I join them all the time. Anything I might be posting up, any interesting conversations, anything I find interesting, any artwork that I might find a little enticing, or figurines, whatever. If you're interested in following that, be sure to go there and follow that. But as always, you have a good day. Have a good night. As always, a good life. Much love, y'all. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, 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 bye.